What is up guys, it's RJ here and this is the OnePlus 8 Pro. It's been my daily driver for the past 3 weeks now and I have a pretty good idea of everything it has to offer. This is the most expensive device OnePlus has ever made. In fact, it's $230 more than last year's 7 Pro. But it's quite easily the best Android flagship available to date. I'm not even kidding. You see, this device is expensive, but in comparison to other Android flagships with the Snapdragon 865 chipset, the 8 Pro delivers far more value at a cheaper price. And not to mention longevity-wise, OnePlus has a good track history of providing software updates for at least 3 or more years. So in the long run, you are definitely getting your money's worth with the OnePlus 8 Pro. Oftentimes in the smartphone industry, you see these Android smartphones jam-packed with all these crazy specs, like the latest processor, tons of RAM, and a huge battery. I feel like we get blindsided by the specs and we ignore the user experience. That's primarily what sets apart Apple from other OEMs. Their iOS user experience is second to none. And with Apple products, you can expect software updates for many years to come. Sometimes we could even expect 5 years of software updates. I mean, my mom still uses the iPhone 7, a phone from 2016. Imagine using an Android device from 2016 like the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can still use that device, but you would experience slowdowns and you wouldn't be getting updates up until 2020. But the 8 Pro isn't like that. The specs translate well into user experience. You can just feel the smoothness of this device. Oxygen OS is so well optimized to handle these specs and more importantly showcase the power of the 8 Pro in our day-to-day interactions. But that's not to say this phone is perfect. We still have some minor hiccups and some design flaws that should be addressed in the next iteration. The OnePlus 8 Pro merges great hardware with some of the best software experience you can get on an Android device. OnePlus really nailed the design of the 8 Pro. It truly feels like a premium flagship worth the price of admission. This device comes in 2 finishes, Onyx Black and Glacial Green. I think it's a no-brainer to go with the Glacial Green. Under some lighting conditions, it looks blue, but for the most part, you can see the green accent clearly. All the buttons on this device are quite tactile and they feel nice to the touch. And more importantly, they are easy to reach despite it being a big phone. We still have OnePlus's signature alert sliders, which is quite convenient to have. Apple was the first company to introduce alert sliders with their iPhone and OnePlus followed suit. I feel like every Android device should have this. Easily switching between ring, silent, and vibrate with the slide of a button is quite convenient if you ask me. I have the power button remapped to long press for Google Assistant, and this enables me to access the most powerful voice assistant in the world with the simple long press of a button. Once again, reinstating the fact that the convenience factor of this phone is quite high. The OnePlus 8 Pro is a very big phone. There's no way around it. I mean, this phone is very big. It's rocking a behemoth 6.78-inch screen with surprisingly small bezels. I definitely can't use this phone one-handed and I have some average sized hands. And quite honestly, after using the iPhone SE for a while, I fell in love with smaller phones and wish this phone was a bit smaller. The size of this phone is my main complaint about the hardware, but it might not be an issue for you. It's an incredibly well-built phone with the fit and finish that stands up against both the Galaxy S20 and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Over on the back, we do have a pill-shaped quad-lens camera layout with a pretty big camera bump. If you use this phone caseless like I do, but I really shouldn't be because it's a really expensive device, the phone does rock on a table. Moving on, let's talk about this display and why it's been quite controversial, mainly due to the fact that some people have been experiencing this weird green tint. I immediately ordered my 8 Pro right at launch, so it was one of the first units to ship out. Some users have been experiencing a green to dark tint when the screen brightness is set to under 40%, but on my unit I haven't really noticed anything like that. As a matter of fact, this screen is on par with that of flagship Galaxy devices, and that, my friends, is high praise. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a dominating 6.7-inch AMOLED display with the Quad HD Plus resolution of 3168 by 1440, and this phone gets plenty bright up to 1300 nits at max brightness. While the specs may be really impressive, I feel like it doesn't do the screen enough justice. Viewing angles are great even though it is a curved display. You get color accurate visuals and deep blacks. And I do recommend everyone runs their phone on dark mode. I find it to be easier on the eyes and it does save battery life. Not to mention everything just looks better in this sort of stealth mode. I do have to complain about these curved waterfall edges though. I really wish the screen was flat. About 3 weeks with this device and I've already experienced far too many accidental touches, which just ruins the overall user experience in some cases. I get that from an aesthetics perspective, it does look cool to look at and all, but I care more about the user experience rather than the aesthetics. I've also noticed while using night mode to filter out the blue light, it takes a while for night mode to kick in after unlocking the phone. I'm pretty sure this is entirely a software issue, which I'm hoping OnePlus does address in future updates. You also may have noticed this little cutout on the top left corner of the screen. Well, this time OnePlus opted to go against a pop-up camera and went with the hole punch front-facing camera. I'm not entirely confident in how I really feel about this because I rarely use a selfie camera on any smartphone. I probably use my selfie camera like once a month, or just the camera in general just like once a month. So I would have preferred it to be a full bezel-less display over a cutout display any day of the week, but I do understand OnePlus had to go this route to give the 8 Pro an official IP rating. I cannot conclude talking about this display without mentioning the 120Hz refresh rate panel. If you've never used a phone with the high refresh rate screen, you'll immediately be able to tell the difference when using a device with a high refresh rate. For myself, it was very hard to tell the difference between a 90Hz panel and a 120Hz panel. You are getting 30 more Hz, but it's almost near impossible for me to differentiate that 30 Hz. What's really nice about the 8 Pro is that the 120Hz stays on in Quad HD resolution, unlike other smartphones. Samsung, unless of course there's a specific reason to go to a lower refresh rate, like when watching a movie. Okay, I've kept you guys waiting long enough. Let's discuss this quad lens camera layout. And of course, I expected the cameras to be improved, taking into account the higher price tag. The improvement is not a home run by any means, but a vast improvement nonetheless. We have a main 48 megapixel Sony sensor, an 8 megapixel telephoto lens, a 48 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, which is also a Sony sensor, and a 5 megapixel color filter camera. Thank goodness there is no 2 megapixel macro mode on this phone. You may have noticed both the wide and the ultra wide angle lens have the same Sony sensor. Kudos to OnePlus for not skipping out on the quality with the ultra wide angle lens. When snapping pictures on either the wide or the ultra wide angle camera, you get images with plenty of detail and nice color contrast. Surprisingly, even in low lighting conditions, the primary camera does a good job of being able to pull in lots of light. Sometimes the images do turn out a bit smooshy and you do start to notice a little bit of noise. But thankfully, we do have nightscape mode. The colors pop now and the details are a bit sharper and the shadows and contrast a bit more prominent. I'm not gonna lie, the telephoto camera though is lacking. It does feature 3 times optical zoom, but OnePlus lets you zoom in as much as 30 times. I found anything over 10 times to be a complete mess, so don't even bother. While it is nice to be able to zoom into objects further away, the quality simply isn't there. Oh yeah, I almost forgot the 8 Pro does include a color filter camera. Maybe it's a good thing I almost forgot. It's a whole other lens and sensor strictly for color effects. It's more of a gimmick to be honest, but it does include the controversial X-ray mode, or what OnePlus calls photochrome. OnePlus did recently come out and say that this mode will be patched in a future update. It wasn't meant to be used to peek into the souls of objects. And for myself personally, it hasn't been working that well. I've tried it on my PS4 controller and a TV remote to no avail. Unlike many Android phones, the video quality is surprisingly decent on the 8 Pro. We can shoot up to 4K at 30 FPS, and OnePlus has their own version of stabilization called Super Stable. It does a pretty decent job of stabilizing shaky footage even when I'm walking at a rapid pace. Video quality wise, it isn't quite on par with that of iPhones, but it's much better than Android devices out there like the Pixel 4. Over on the front, we have a 16 megapixel front facing camera. The quality of images you can expect is the same as last year's 7 Pro. The front facing camera does come with portrait mode, but it doesn't do a good job of recognizing hair or glasses. Oftentimes it does blur out strands of hair. So hopefully we see an improvement in that sense with some future software updates. The front-facing camera is also capable of recording in 1080p at 30 FPS, in case some of you guys out there were wondering, and this is what the quality looks like. What is up guys, I'm just going for a walk right now, and this is what the front-facing camera quality looks like on the OnePlus 8 Pro. And this is what the mic quality sounds like. It is pretty windy out right now, so you might not be able to hear me properly. But yeah, this is pretty much what I sound like on the OnePlus 8 Pro. What really surprised me about the 8 Pro has to be the battery life. This phone has tremendous battery life. The 8 Pro comes equipped with a 4510 mAh battery, slightly larger than the 4500 mAh battery found on the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus. And considering how hard I push this phone on a day-to-day basis, this phone puts out some pretty good screen on time. Pushing this phone means I run the 8 Pro on Quad HD Plus resolution with the 120Hz refresh rate turned to always on, and not to mention the brightness is usually dialed all the way up. Also, my phone plan does come with 80GB of data on LTE, so I always have that turned on instead of Wi-Fi just to test out the battery drain, which is the best battery life I've ever got on a smartphone to date, with these ridiculous maxed out settings. Keep in mind, this is a Quad HD Plus AMOLED display with a 120Hz refresh rate, which means battery drain is going to be second to none. But I have to give it up to OnePlus. Somehow, through good software optimization, we're seeing some phenomenal screen on time. So considering my use case, if I am averaging around 7 hours of screen on time, the average Joe should easily be able to get around 2 days worth of battery life on a single full charge. In the box, we're still provided with the signature 30-watt fast charger. OnePlus calls it warp charge, and rightfully so. In just 23 minutes, you can get 50% battery health. Those are some pretty impressive fast charging numbers considering that this phone has a 4510 mAh battery. Also, for the first time ever, the OnePlus 8 Pro now comes equipped with wireless charging. Not only does it come with wireless charging, OnePlus made their own proprietary wireless charger, which is supposed to get you 50% battery health in just 30 minutes, which is the fastest wireless charger ever. But it does cost an extra $60 just to get that charger. The 8 Pro also comes equipped with dual stereo speakers. These aren't the best speakers I've ever tested. It's on par or a little bit better than the Pixel 3a speaker.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow then it's done for you. For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow then it's done for you. For the record.
But in comparison to the speakers found on the new iPhone SE or the iPhone 11 Pro Max, it's no comparison. Those phones blow away the 8 Pro in the stereo sound department. I think one of the main reasons Android users have a hard time switching over to iOS is ultimately the UI experience. Customizability is the core strength of Android, and it's something that Apple's been very stubborn about changing in iOS. Second to stock Android found on Pixel devices, Oxygen OS has to be one of my favorite Android skins ever. Oxygen OS is a very clean skin with useful extra features, and it manages to achieve this without sacrificing the look and feel of the skin. You will find some extra usability features and apps, but none of that actually detrimentally affects the device's performance or ruins your overall experience. But in almost every sense, the inertia and the sense of speed with Oxygen OS is way ahead of other Android devices, including stock Android. Being fast doesn't necessarily equate to a better software experience, but it does really help ensure that OnePlus phones will stay feeling snappy and fast for many months and years to come. Especially when combining Oxygen OS to this 120Hz panel, the experience that you get while interacting with this device is second to none. Apps load insanely fast. I did a speed test with 8 Pro and the new iPhone SE, so check that out if you guys are interested down in the description below. Everything from replying to messages and scrolling feels faster and sharper, and it's also very responsive to the touch. This is easily the fastest phone I've ever used, and that's just a testament to how far OnePlus has grown as a company. So the question is this the best Android phone currently on the market? To me, hands down it is. OnePlus is no longer a flagship killer, now they become the flagship to kill. The price significantly undercuts other Android flagships and offers a lot more value. The 8 Pro provides you with a flagship that comes equipped with a genuinely fantastic screen, a fantastic design, despite it being a bit too big, and it finally has wireless charging and a proper water resistance. The camera isn't the best in the market, but it has seen a tremendous improvement over its predecessor, the 7 Pro. So the combination of well-optimized software, serious speed, and strong battery life gives you a very potent combo. It's not the perfect smartphone, but OnePlus was pretty damn close. I believe with the release of the OnePlus 8 Pro, OnePlus has officially put the Android flagship market on notice, and companies like Google, Samsung, and even Apple should be worried for what's coming. I know this was a very long review, but I really wanted to break down this device and provide you guys with the best review that I am capable of, just to give you guys a sense of what you are getting if you do buy this phone. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you already haven't, and don't forget to flex with your tech.